Hi, welcome to the series of Jasper Reports. In this session, we are going to learn about Excel export advanced properties in Jaspersoft Design Studio. The agenda for this session is we will see an example on how we can split report output into multiple sheets when we export the report into Excel. And in the process, we will also see how we can make use of break component to split the report into multiple pages. Let's get started. So to start with, we are going to create a grid-like report having 3 table components, and we are going to have 2 page breaks, and we are going to apply these properties to split the report output into multiple sheets. So let's create a blank report from File, New, then Jasper Report. Select the blank report from report templates, click on Next. Let's save this report under report folders of Jasper Reports 2021 project here. Let's name the report as Excel Export Advanced Properties Split Output into Multiple Pages. Not multiple pages exactly, multiple sheets here. So let's name the report with this name. Click on Next. From the data source section, from the data adapter dropdown, let us select the Foodma data source and provide the main query for the report. So I am going to select one as the main query because we are going to keep 3 table components, and these table component requires to have subset data subsets created. So click on Next. Let's take the only single field. Then let us skip the group by for the main report. Then click on Finish. So from the outline view, select the bands which we do not want to have on the design. So we can delete page header, column header, detail, column footer, page footer bands. We are going to keep the table components in the summary band. So let us have title and summary on the report editing area. Now let us create 3 data sets here, each for each of the table component. So right click on the root element or say the report name from the outline, then click on data set. In the data set wizard, let's go with the default option. So I'm going to name data set name as the first one should be from customer table. So customer, and let's go with the first radio button option here, which is create new data set from a connection or data source. So click on Next. Now select the Foodma database from the data adapter dropdown, and now in the SQL editor, let's provide select star from customer. I am limiting it to 40 records. So let's take this query and put it here. Okay, it hasn't copied. Copy this one and replace the text. So click on Next. Let's take all of the fields. Click on Next. Let's skip the group by. Click on Finish. Now we have the first data set created. Similarly, create the other 2 data sets for the payer and so not payer, product and employee. So let's take this query. We can also copy paste the data sets which have already created, or we can perform the step that we did for creating this one to create a new data set. So let us see how we can copy and paste the existing database. So right click on the existing database, copy and select the root node and here paste it. So we can see the copy of datasets 1. So let's rename this as dataset 2 and then product. So to update the query for the second dataset created, select the dataset created here, right click on it and then click on dataset and query. So we need to ensure that the right dataset is selected and the corresponding schema is selected here, which is public for the PostgreSQL Foodman database. Now we have to update this query. Control C, and I'm going to replace it. Then we need to click on the read fields button, and we should be able to see the records from the fields from the product table. So product table has product class ID, brand name, product name, and there are several other fields. So click OK. Now let us create the third data sets. Now let's switch back to the normal procedure, which is nothing but selecting the root node or the say the report name from the outline view. Right click on this one, then click on create data set, and let's update the data set name to employee. So data set 3 employee is the third data set we are going to create, and let's go with the default option, which is nothing but create new data set from a connection or data source. Now click on next. Now let's copy the third query, which is select a star from employee and limiting it to 40 records. Before that, let's select the adapter, which is the footnote, and let's copy the query now. So click on next. Let's take all the fields for the data set. Click on next. Let's skip the group by. We're not going to group by the data set itself. So click on next. Now we have the 3 data sets created, and we can see all of these in the outline view. Now we are going to make use of these three data sets on 3 different tables. Now to create the first data set, first table component, we need to be in the palette, then select the table component here and drag it onto the summary pane. Now as we drag the table component onto the summary pane, we can see this wizard, and it has 2 options here: create a table using a new data sets, and the second one is create a table using an existing data set. So we have already created the data sets, so we need to go with the second option, which is the create a table using an existing data set. And from the drop down here, we can see what are all the available data sets created. So we have created data set 1 customer, data set 2 product, data set 3 employee. So let's select the first one, which is data set 1 customer. So click on next. Now in the connection wizard, let's go with the first option. Use same JDBC connection used to fill the master report. So when we created this JRXML, we have selected the Pudman data source, and we have given select one as the query. So we are going to make use of the same connection for the data sets created, and we are going to use the same data sets for the table components. So we need to use the first option, as we are as we want to align with the master connection to the sub data set connection. So let's go with the first option, which is use same JDBC connection, use it to fill the master reports. So click on next. Now table columns wizard, let's select at least 5 fields. So I am going to take customer ID, last name, state, province, total children, and occupation. So randomly I picked up 5 fields to plot the table components. So click on the very first option here. So we can see the selected 5 fields are moved to the right side window here. So click on next. And on the layout side, let's go with the default options. So click on finish. Now we can see the table component is created on the summary pane. So save the report. Now let's quickly format this table component. That means let's adjust the widths of the each of the cells inside the table components. So double click on the table component. We should be able to see a separate outline for the component. So double click on this one, and on the menus bar for the report, we can see main report and table component. Now let's remove the empty cells from the uh, design here. So this is the table header section, and this is the column header section, and this should be the detail section, and this should be the column footer section, and this should be the table footer section. So we are going to remove the empty cells from the design. So for that, let's click on the table header, and from the outline view, multi-select all of these columns by holding the shift button. Right click on the selection and then click on the delete cell. Similarly, remove the empty cells from the column footer and table footer. So I'm going to select column footer here, multi-select all of these, and right click on the selection, then click on the delete cell option. Similarly from the table footer. So we can do this while selecting the layout itself, but let us see how we can do that in the next table creation. So get back to the main report. Let's adjust the height of the table component, and let's switch to the table outline again. Now select the column header, select the columns from the column header, and go to the common properties. And within the common properties, we can see there are different sections here. So we need to be in the cell section, and the default width for the each of the cell is 40 pixel. Let's make it as 110. Okay, so now switch back to the main report, and let's adjust the width of the component by clicking on this fit width option from the top icon bar. So we have the first one ready with the customer details. So similarly, let us create two more tables for the product and employee. So repeat the same steps that we did for the customer table. So which means from the palette, select the table component, then from the data set wizard, select the second one, which is product here, then click on next, select the first option, use same JDBC connection user to fill the master report, click on next. Let's take all the tables, no, not all the columns. So switch back to the normal view. Now from this, select the product ID, product name, and net weight, units per case, self width, some random 5 fields, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Then click on next. Then from the layout, let us uncheck this add table header and add group header, add table footer, add column footer, add group footer. So let us uncheck this option so that we need not to remove explicitly from the design. So click on finish. Now we can see only the column header and detail bands are appearing on the table template. Now let's adjust the height and width. So let's double click on the table component to view its own outline. Now from the design, let us click on the column 1 here from the column headers. So we can see what are all the columns available. Multi-select all of these and go to the common properties, and within the cell increase the width from 40 pixels to 110. So now get back to the main report. Let's remove the empty spaces from the component. So similarly, create one more table component for the uh, final scenario, which is employee table component, then employee dataset, then click on next, go with the first option, which is use same DDBC connection, then click on next. Now employee ID, full name, birth date, some random 5 fields, education level, and some salary. So we have 5 fields taken. Then let's uncheck the table header, group footer, column footer, and table footer from the layout wizard. So click on finish, then adjust the width, adjust the height. Double click on the components. So click on the column 1, multi-select all of these. From the common properties, click on the cell option. Cell option, and this should be 110. The height for this one should be adjusted, and the width should be adjusted. So now we have the 3 table components created. Height is 60. This should be 60. So we have the 3 table components created. The top one is for which one? For customer, and the second one is for product, and the third one is employee. So when we run this report and when we export this report to Excel, we want to have each of the section is exported to individual sheets within the Excel file. So to get that, we need to apply the page breaks first. Then we need to configure few advanced properties related to Excel export, and those properties should belongs to specific sheet. So let us see how we can do that. So first apply the page break property. From the palette, we can see page break option here, some break option. Uh, so select the break option from the palette and drag it under the first table. And let us take one more break component and put that break component under the second table component. So select the page break that we put on under the table components here. And if we look at the properties of these break components, we can see where it is going to break in the report output. So click on the break option here. The type is page, and this has got 2 options here, either page or column. So for our demonstration, we want to go with the default option because the export should be at page level, not at the column level. So now we have applied the page break components, and this is going to be available in first sheet, and this is going to be available in second sheet, and the output of the third one should be exported to third sheet. So along with this page break option, by putting the break component, we also need to apply the Excel related export option. So to configure the advanced properties, we need to be on the root of the report from the outline, which is nothing but the report name. And from the properties of the report, we can see there are 2 sections, report and advanced. We need to be in the advanced section, and within the advanced, in the miscellaneous properties, here we can see the edit properties option, and click on this ellipse icon. So we can get to the page of properties. So within this section, we need to apply these 4 properties. The first one is this one, Jasper Reports export XLS one page per sheet. So this should be applied as an advanced properties with true as the value. So click on add in the properties. Directly we can copy paste the property, and here it should be true. Click OK. Now we applied the first property here. We need to apply 4 more properties, and the second property is going to be the sheet name of the first table component, and the second one is the sheet name of the second component. Similarly, the third one is for the third sheet, and along with these names we need to apply uh, advanced property related to the page break. So page break, no pagination should be applied. So let us apply the properties one by one. Click on add. So export XLS sheet dot names dot one. So the first sheet name should be customer. Let's type in here customer. Click OK. And the second property is this one for the sheet. So this should be product. And the third one is for employee. Export XLS sheet names 3. So this is going to be the third sheet, and the value should be employee here. And the final property is page break, no pagination. So there will be no pagination. That means the export will not be split across into multiple pages. So this should be as the property name, and it has got default property as ignore. We need to update this to apply. Click OK. So now we have applied 5 properties here. One is the first property is one page per sheet, which should be true, and the next properties are related to the sheet names for the export that we are going to do for each respective table component. So this sheet contains the data from the first table component, which is based on customer data, and the second one is for product, and the third one is employee, and the final property is related to the page break that we kept under the table components. So we need to apply no pagination. No pagination means the report output will go into one single page. Basically, when we export to any of the report output into any of the formats, we can see at least 20 to 25 rows within the sheet, and the report output goes into the next sheet, and if that fills, it goes to the third sheet and vice versa. So we are not going to do that by applying this property. So there will be no pagination. That means the report output we would see in one single page in general, basically. But in this case, as we are applying the page breaks will break into different pages, and within that page we are not going to have the pagination. That means first table output goes into first sheet, and there will be no paginations, and second table output goes into the second sheet, and when it exceeds 20 to 25 rows, it is not going to uh, display in the next page. Within the page itself, after 20 to 25 rows, the remaining output uh, comes under the 20 to 25th row onwards. That means within the single page itself, we are going to see the output for that particular category, which is let's say product. So once we have applied all these properties, let us save the report and publish it to the server. So we have saved the report, and let's publish this report to the local server, which is local Jasper Reports 2021, and to the reports folder. So we are going to deploy or publish this report to the reports folder of Jasper Reports 2021 repository or say the project. So let's give the report unit in the bottom. Now click on next. From the configure the data source section, select the first one, data source from repository. So click on this ellipse icon. Let's search for the connection which we have already created under Jasper Reports 2021 project. So let's take this connection, then click on finish. Now the report is published to the server. Let's access it in the server UI. Super user, and super user is the username and password for standard Jasper server, which is enterprise or professional. From the menu bar, let's navigate to the report from view repository. So we need to navigate to the reports folder from the Jasper Reports 2021 project. So reports folder is here. Click on this one, and the report name is this, which we published today. So select the report and run it in a new tab. We should be able to see 3 pages. Okay, we have got to 4 pages. I think there should be some empty page. So let us see how it gets into the Excel export. So from the icon menu here on the top, choose the second one, which is the export option, and then click on XLSX option. So this should get the report export into Excel. Now let's open this one and see how many sheets of output we got here. Yeah. So we can see that there are 3 sheets produced. The first one is customer, and the second one is product, and the third one is employee. And the product one is this one. Okay, the server view is inconsistent with the Excel export view, but this is not an issue, because when we want to have the report output into the Excel, we don't consider the UI look and feel, but we can make the look and feel exactly same as what we are seeing in the Excel export, but we need to debug where we missed that part. But this is the concept on how we can export the report output into multiple sheets in the Excel export. So that's all for this session. I hope you're a little clearer on what we saw in this session. So let us see what we have learned in this one as a recap. So we have seen an example on how we can create a report having 3 table components and 2 break components, and how we can apply Excel related advanced properties for the report. So this brings us to the end of the session on the Excel export advanced properties. So thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for more updates.